You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. We got Emilio going to be joining us here in a second. He's got a couple of cutlets going on the grill. So you know how it is, Jacob. Always 5 minutes late, man.
He's not very punctual. But he tries hard. Yeah,
he does try. You're right, man. And trying's half the battle, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was very convincing. All right, so we're obviously going to talk some Green Bay Packers training camp today. We got all the updates from today's practice. Got some really cool headlines, storylines, whatever you want to call it. I know everybody's filing in here. Good to see everybody. Hope y'all had an awesome day. Before we jump into it, let's go ahead and give a Jacob, so obviously today the heat was a little bit of an issue. It was pretty warm up your way, man. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. And by the way, Clayton, did you know that the Native Americans used to pronounce Milwaukee Milwaukee?
Milwaukee.
Yes.
I didn't know they were French. That's pretty cool, man.
I don't
know, Lloyd. The French are assholes. I'm telling you, Dumb and Dumber, man. The best. Oh man, yeah. So I didn't know that. Is that really true? Or are you just having a good time?
It's a quote from Wayne's World. I don't know. I thought people might think it's funny.
They probably
there you go. So here we go. Too old for it because that's from Wayne's World.
Love it. I'm the only one in the house here that didn't get it. So that's
Clayton's good with certain movie references, but a lot of them just go way over the top of the dome.
I've seen very few movies, but the ones I have seen, I've seen like 800 times. You know what I mean? I'm one of those guys. Like if I find a good movie, put it on loop. Let's watch it over and over and over.
Oh, speaking of good stuff that you watch over and over, a book that you recommended. I actually finished a book in like 3 days. I finished Michael Lombardi's. I don't even know what I was reading. What was it called? The Greatest. I don't even know what I was reading. It was great. I guess technically.
You talking about Good Iron Genius?
Yeah, it was awesome.
I finished it
today. Yep.
Oh man, I'll give you a round of applause there, Jake. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
I gotta finish Take Your Eye Off the Ball still. I've got like halfway through that. But
yeah. Take Your Eye Off the Ball is very, what am I trying to say here? It's very organized. It's very, hey, I wanna read a little bit about this part of this aspect of football. Let me go find that chapter. Gridiron Genius is just like this story, right? That's just takes you through pretty much Lombardi's entire coaching history and teaches you along the way the things that he's learned. It's just phenomenal, man. Great book. And again, once you finish Take Your Eye Off the Ball, Jacob, pick up Bobby Peters' 2023 Green Bay Packers offensive guide. It's unbelievable, man. You'll love it. So there's
Can you get that off of Amazon? I was going to ask
you.
Yes,
sure can. Yeah. Yep. Okay. And it got here real quick too. This is what it looks like. What I love about Bobby Peters' stuff, he doesn't do anything fancy. This is it, man. You can see that.
Oh yeah.
Straightforward. You look at it and go, yeah, that looks like a $3 book, man. It is unbelievable. It's more than $3. It's actually I don't think he's got a price. I can't even remember what I paid for it. I would have paid $100 for this book. Seriously. And it wasn't that much, I promise you. But it's just a phenomenal book, great breakdown, charting the plays, the results, does a very brief but in-depth description of each play and why it worked, why it didn't work, all that stuff. It's phenomenal. So, but with that being said, let's jump into the news today. So obviously it was a little bit warmer up there. I think they were expecting 88 degrees in Green Bay, something like that. So
yeah,
Paul Brittle tweeted out, this was from Matt LaFleur's presser earlier today, says it's going to be a little bit of a gut check is what LaFleur said about today's practice, which we will be longer and have additional reps in the heat. So he wanted to get those guys out there. I think they chose to go 30 minutes longer, if I remember correctly, was the plan. And one of the reasons why is because Matt LaFleur actually mentioned this in his presser. Wes Hawkowitz says, Matt LaFleur says today's practice will be 30 minutes longer than yesterday, which Matt LaFleur felt was somewhat lethargic. Quote, it's going to be a little bit of a gut check, I think. So he stretched it out a little bit longer today in one of the hottest days of camp because he felt like the practice was lethargic yesterday. Now, Jacob, we've talked about this from time to time. Some people think Matt LaFleur is soft. I think at one point we would have somewhat agreed, like, yeah, he does seem like he's too buddy, too nice. You could tell that dude, since Rodgers is now a New York Jet, he's the leader of this team, right? You could tell he's not holding anything back now. Bakhtiari's gone. Aaron Rodgers is gone. And listen, this no way, shape, or form is this a negative comment towards those two players. It's just the reality that the old guard's gone. It's LaFleur's team now, right? I think it's huge, man. I really do.
Yeah, you can definitely see that the training wheels are off, and any sort of, like you just talked about, it's not throwing any shade or any kind of hate or anything. It's just that reality of the situation that once man, you remember riding the bus, and once like the fifth graders and the sixth graders or whatever, they stopped riding the bus, and all of a sudden you were like the fourth, fifth grade, and you're like, this is mine now.
Yes,
I run this bus. Everybody, it's going through me. And I feel like LaFleur, honestly, it sounds stupid, but he was very shy. He was a little gun shy with the media because he didn't really know, I don't think, where his voice was yet, where his ego was. But obviously, like you talked about, now it's just a completely his team now. There's really nobody left on this roster that even knows old LaFleur, aw shucks LaFleur.
Right.
Maybe than certain players that maybe saw the very beginning of that. I was actually really surprised too today. I watched his press conference, and he is so short with the media now. I'm almost like on the other side of it, like, dude, be nicer to him. Like they were asking him questions. I can't remember who it was. They were like, oh, it's been really hot lately. Is this kind of your preferred workout environment? How many or like, would you rather it be hotter or warmer or colder? And he's like, I don't know. We practice in the weather, whatever it's like, what do you, it's basically like, just told him like, that's a stupid question. We practice whatever weather it is, we're going to practice. And it was really refreshing. But at the same time, like you can tell he doesn't care about the sound bites anymore. He's just trying to get through the presser because he's got other stuff to do, is what I get the read of. He's got more important things to do. Whereas before I thought he was very worried. I hope I don't say this wrong or that wrong or.
No, I think that's very, very accurate. Jake Shavink in the chat says LaFleur kind of jumped on the train at the beginning. Now he's the engine. Completely agree. You could tell he's the captain now. See, I got that movie reference, didn't I? See how that worked?
Good, man. Pretty good.
All right, let's see what else we got in the chat real quick. Just want to kind of stay plugged in with you guys before we get into the camp details. Coach Lynn says Johnson Jr. making a name for himself. Safeties are in for a hell of a season, I think. It seems like they've got some momentum. Coach Lynn, you know how it is, man. Camp, it seems like the defense always has the upper hand. I'm trying to curb the enthusiasm, but every day that goes by, it gets a little more difficult, to be honest with you. Because it seems like, Jacob, these young safeties, man, they're just picking right up. They're having no problem getting acclimated to the speed. Granted, it's camp and it's early and the pads just came on, but still, man, and I know you brought up the topic about Xavier McKinney, which got some colorful feedback. I'll say that, which I expected. But I don't know. It just seems like these young rookies, man, these young safeties anyway, they're coming out to play aggressive. There's no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I probably posed the question wrong, like with that whole Xavier McKinney thing. My whole point of it was just, what if this new crop of safeties / Ant Johnson Jr. are so good that it almost makes it look like we wasted money, but didn't need to make that sort of extension and leap. But I personally think that no matter what we do, it's going to be awesome, just because the defense just seems like they completely bought in to this new scheme. And the fact that Hafley seems to be more of like that D-back whisper. And if we have two constants in that secondary between John and X now that are always just kind of steady eddies that like you don't have to really worry about whatsoever, I mean, that just seems massive. And the fact, too, that they've realized it's not – I'd be a little more upset if we just had like 2 or 3 studs that were wasting away on the bench. But I think that already the coaching staff has realized, hey, we've got a lot of good safety talent. So maybe let's try to figure out a way. We've already saw in the red zone they did that package where they had Bullard, McKinney, and Evan Williams on the field at the same time, which I think is really cool. I mean, shoot, I could see a situation if Oladapo comes out and he really does have all that skill set with the size of being a 6'2", 216-pound guy. You could run a package where you quote unquote have 4 safeties, but you don't necessarily play them like a typical safety. We have that hybrid. Who knows what we're going to do with sneaking around guys in the slot and that sort of stuff. So it's fun, man. It's fun to think about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, let's go to the chat here. Too old for this says, Love had some absolute dimes today. Every time I looked at his end of the field, he was killing it. Can't wait to give you guys a camp update because it sounds like Love is just settling in big time, man. He's getting better and better as camp goes on for sure. Greg Rice says, I am looking forward to a 3 safety D. Me too. Here's the thing that comes into play too, Greg. Like defenses, and Coach Lynn can attest to this. Defenses play different styles or types of sets, totally different. And when I think of a 3 safety set, I think of a balanced look. I think of maybe when they come out in 11 personnel where they like to, let's say it's a team that likes to run heavy out of 11 personnel and they like to run a lot of 2x2 sets. Because if they go stack, if they go with a bunch set or they go with a trips or a tray look, you're really forcing isolation on that safety with a wide receiver, right? So I feel like they're going to have to pick their spots where they use the 3 safety D. But the reality is if that third safety on the field is performing better than Keyshawn Nixon, put his butt out there, even in 11 personnel, right? Or against 11 personnel, I should say. So I'm with you, man. I think the 3 safety D is definitely it's intriguing for sure. Two over this said, seeing Halfley standing next to LaFleur made me happier than Emilio with a cannoli. That's pretty damn happy, Bub. And I like that That's profile too there. You see that with Larry? Love it, man.
Nice.
Larry McCarron there. Nice pick, man. Blake B said LaFleur is over pleasing the media and is here to stand on business. I absolutely love it, Blake. He started that last year, and we started calling him Tupac LaFleur. It was actually Tim that coined that phrase, if I remember correctly, right? And when he chirped back at the media and said, hey, you guys are really exposing yourselves, dude, I looked like I was on Jersey Shore over here fist pumping, bro. I was fired up, man. I was just like, thank God somebody – because it's so frustrating as a fan who, like, studies the game to hear some of the media members make these kind of – look, here we are with 2 down linemen, 2 defensive linemen again. And it's like, Bub, you have no idea what you're talking about right now. You got 2 280-pound plus, or at least at a minimum 260 to 70-pound plus outside linebackers that are playing on the line of scrimmage with 3 down linemen inside of them covering the guards. Like this, they're not playing with 2 defensive linemen. What game are you watching? And it's okay to like not completely understand things, but when you come from an angle of arrogance, like, can you believe these coaches think they're going to get away with a run defense with 2 down linemen? It's like, what are you even talking about, dude? Speaking of getting away with stuff.
Here he comes. Hey, Emilio.
Play cool. Oh, I forgot to turn the Milwaukee light on.
Get your light on. What are you doing over here? Unbelievable.
Dude, well, the problem was the last cutlet was just a little too thick. I didn't pound it down enough. So
that's what she said.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, Ron Samble in the chat says Rome looks totally different, step above the rest right now. Ron, he's the one that's really stood out the last couple of days. Him and Dubose. We're going to talk about Dubose today as well. But before we talk about Dubose and what else happened at practice today, let's hear what QB1 Jordan Love actually had to say about Romeo Doubs, talking about the chemistry that they've been creating here lately. Here's Jordan Love talking about Romeo Doubs.
Playoff games mean to him and maybe the offense? What do you made of those?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just showcasing all the work that he puts in behind the scenes. I think Rome is, he's one of the biggest workers I've ever seen. After practice, you always see him on the jugs. He's putting in extra work. He's always in the meeting room locked in. And, you know, that's just accumulation of all the work he's doing behind the scenes, and now he's able to show that. So, you know, I think where he left off last year with those 2 playoff games, I think he's going to keep elevating himself this year.
What do you think your timing is with him at this point, and how has that grown over the years?
What was that, the timing?
Yeah, with Romeo.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a really good feel for Rome and where he's going to be at on his routes. You know, Rome's a guy that, I mean, I probably worked the most with in the offseason, being that we're both out there in California, very close to each other. So we have a great feel for each other. And, you know, it's easy when the way he's running these routes and creating space and getting open, he makes it really easy for a quarterback.
All right, so here's the one of the key things to understand about Romeo Doubs and exactly the position and role that he plays on this offense. He plays boundary X a large majority of the time. Now, there's occasions that he'll be the Z because they want to use some slot motion. I have very, very rarely seen him play in fly, playing the F, but him as the boundary X, creating that separation that Jordan was talking about and having the chemistry that Jordan was talking about is absolutely huge because, like Greg Cosell says, when you come to the line, it's elimination, isolation. You're eliminating what the defense is not in, and you're trying to create an isolation play to what am I trying to say here? Basically to extort, maybe to exploit the weakness of that defensive look. Most of the time, more times than not, that is built around the boundary X. Now, when you like to run a lot of slice or split flow or split zone, whatever you want to call it, and you start using some pre-snap motion, some cheat motion from the Z side, it does kind of take the direction of the play away from the boundary X. So it's not like you're just coming out like the old Mike McCarthy system where it's just, hey, let's line up and work our reads 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of eye candy. But Romeo Doubs has got me excited, man. And he's one of these dudes that he's constantly showing up in camp. I'm going to show you guys this. I think this was from yesterday, I believe. I hope I've got the right play here. I think, was this yesterday? Look at Love going to drop this in here. Watch Dobby go up and get it. Telling you, man, the dude is just – I'm excited, man. I'm excited for Romeo Doubs. I'm not sure if this might be Doubs here too. No, that was Wicks.
No, it's Wicks.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a nice little run here. I didn't realize there was that many plays on this one clip. I was just going to show the Doubs one, but there you go. There's a little Jacobs out of the backfield. He might have been flexed out.
Yep.
But, yeah, that throw to Doubs, man. Doubs, he's always showed up to camp, and it sounds like he's giving Jair Alexander all he can handle right now, man.
Right. Which is huge because, I mean, Rome puts in the work. Matt was talking about it too. You know, he's in there hitting the jugs before and after practice. So that one catch right there, yeah, he doesn't get to right. He doesn't get to reenact that catch very often, but the process of, going up, keeping your eye on the ball and everything, catch it with your hands, bring it in tight. That's huge, man. And we talked about it earlier, and I think who hit it here? J. Cole was saying it. We talked about it before. I think Romeo is going to be the one that is to get that next contract. One, because of, how he works, how hard he plays and wants to, get better, but also because J. Love has that connection with him. They're in California off season all the time. The choice routes, I'm sure, are going to be, hot and heavy this year because, they have that connection. So let's get the feeling out now, figure out, where he likes it, give me one shoulder drop or something and it's over. And I just can't wait for Rome to actually blow up this year and get the NFL talking about him.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. We actually had Tim at practice earlier. Let me play this clip real quick. This was Tim just giving us his perspective on practice earlier today before he headed out of town. Really appreciate him. A lot of these shots that you've seen us playing in the background, he was able to grab for us. So here we go. Here was Tim earlier today.
What's up, PTA Posse? Checking in with an update.
Looks hot,
before I leave camp for the day and head out of town until next week. Packers are looking good, looking championship caliber. The intensity level is there. Things are heating up. I'm loving the battle between Sean Clifford and Michael Pratt for QB2. Definitely keep your eyes on that. Also, look at the running backs, Emmanuel Wilson and, of course, Marshawn Lloyd, battling it out for that number 3 spot behind Josh Jacobs and A.J. Dillon. It's looking good. If you guys get a chance to come out here, check out some camp the rest of this week. We got family night coming up Saturday. Get on out here. It is hot. Bring your sunscreen. Don't forget your hat again like I did. And always remember, go Pack, go. See you guys soon.
And it sounds like, I think it was Wildy talking about it earlier today, that Sean Clifford, what is he threw 5 interceptions or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
They said that I think he had mentioned that he spoke to the team. What is it? Psychologist, I don't know the proper term, whatever. It's like the team, mental health doctor. All of a sudden he goes out and it's like switch flip right back on track. So it sounds like he's starting to rebound there a little bit too. But that was one of the other breaking news, I guess you could say, on the day. Marshawn Lloyd actually returned to team portion today. So, we were talking about how he was back yesterday and wasn't with the 11 on 11s. Well, today he performed with the 11 on 11. So it sounds like he's full go now. That's great news, right?
Mm-hmm. Matt was talking about him. He said that, he's excited that he's back. He has missed a lot of time, though, a lot of work. So Matt, he said he hasn't gotten a bunch, reps. I think, or it was either Matt or J Love talking about it. But they're excited that he's there, ready to work. But dude, I'm happy that we're past injuries, right? We're gonna have him here and there, but for a young guy like that, we need to get him on the field, just like Home Depot, man. We need him out there so we can get them reps.
Definitely. And this was really cool. Wes Hodkiewicz tweeted out, LaFleur said Tucker Kraft won't practice today, but it's getting close. Quote, he's asking every day to be out there, which is what you want. Jacob, how cool is that? Tucker Kraft hounding the hell out of Matt LaFleur, wanting to get on the field, dude.
U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com. You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
Yeah, I mean, if that's any indication as to the type of player we know Tucker Kraft is, it makes sense. He's been really more of a surprise. Like we saw last year, it took a little bit for both the tight ends to kind of come into their own, but I think that it was not until the Musgrave injury where we really saw Tucker kind of ascend. And now that he's a little bit injured, hopefully Musgrave is using this time to kind of, make the most of the time that he has. What's really cool too is I hate to say it, I'm starting to get excited about the fact that our third and fourth tight end, one of them is named Tyler Davis. They're talking about how he looks really, really good, and he actually
Let's go ahead and right now.
And he's actually
read that to the people, Jake. I'm gonna make you read it.
Darn it! Here we go. Paul Brettel tweets out 2 really nice blocking reps by Tyler Davis. One creates space for Jacobs on the edge, and the other is picking up Clark, who bursts through the line. In addition to that, I also heard that he's been looking a lot more efficient, or at least usable on offense. That he's actually not just there for sith blocking and for making good pulling blocks and all that kind of stuff. He actually has seemed as if he's focused more on like his catching and moving upfield, and he's always he looks like he moves a little awkward to me, but they say he looks a little more athletic now. And I think Ben Sims is actually a really, really great tight end 3 or 4 too. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
having Sims on the line, is key. And Tyler Davis, man, if your role is going to be H-back, you got to hammer it, right? I mean, if you're going to be a special teams ace and you want to play offense, let's find a spot and, just excel at that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's see. Let's go back to the chat real quick. Did you want to read that one there, Jacob? I don't know who put that up there just now.
Yeah, I just threw that up there just now. 12 for this says Tucker was also running along the sideline, high-fiving fans at the beginning of practice, which I think that's maybe like a what's the word? Like a very under realized thing for somebody is how does a player act when they're hurt? Are they still involved with the team?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Are they still using that precious moments? Even if you're literally sitting there on the sidelines, there's nothing there you can do. But what can you do? You can get the fans excited. You can get them so like jacked up. You can get your teammates jacked up because the fans are cheering for them, and you're in a almost 100-degree heat, and you feel like you're freaking about to pass out. But hey, the fans are there. They're excited. They're jumping around. It gives you like little things like that. I think are really hard to measure. That when you have a team that's connected as much as they are now, it's immeasurable. But I think it's also priceless.
Yeah. Definitely. This is a cool shot here, too. I paused it for a reason. This is Derek Ansley working with Jair Alexander, if I understood correctly. So, obviously, Derek Ansley, if you guys don't know who he is, he has a background as a DB coach. He worked for Nick Saban at Alabama for a short stint. He ended up being the defensive coordinator for the LA Chargers last year. Obviously, that staff got fired. So, what you have in a defensive backs coach now, and I think he's a passing game coordinator as well, is you've got a guy who has defensive coordinator experience. It's absolutely huge. That's like Jeff Hafley. Jeff Hafley has head coaching experience, albeit at the college level, but he knows what it's like to have to run the whole show. Now he's the DC. There's nothing better for a head coach than someone who's already been in that spot. And I understand what he's going through to a certain extent. He can make his life a little easier, his job a little easier, a little more streamlined. Same thing with Derek Ansley. Seeing that he was a defensive coordinator last year, he knows what Jeff Hafley's going through right now. You know what I'm saying? That experience, you can't put a price tag on that. But the fact that he was working with Jair right here gets me really excited. What are they working on? Press release, right?
Yep.
So it's huge. I don't know. I seen that earlier. It caught my eye. I thought that's really, really cool. So let's see what else we got in the chat real quick. Ron Samble says Rome looks totally different, step above the rest right now. Completely agree. It looks like he's about to take a huge step. Coach Lynn said we're going to need all of them to play well. Everybody in the league is going to need everybody to play well, man. That's what I love about the National Football League. I love college, don't get me wrong. But college, man, you may turn on a game and go, yep, all right, we know who the better team is today, right? Like, you could just tell if a team is outmatched. Very seldom does that happen in the NFL. Most of the time, either team has an opportunity. Any given Sunday, the old cliche, right? That's what makes the NFL so good. M. Smitty said 2-0 for this. Did it make you even happier than Jacob when he's out hog hunting? Jacob, is that true? You hunt hogs, bro. Don't answer that. Don't you answer that. Ron Sam on the chat said McKinley looks like the best safety easily. At least he did today. I completely agree, Ron. I think people are in for a pleasant surprise this year. When I say people, I mean Packer fans. We have not had a true number one safety in so long, guys. Who was the last guy that you said, okay, that's the guy who can play post, he can play in the box, he's like a team captain level? The closest thing we've had in a very, very, very long time is Adrian Amos. Adrian Amos was not Xavier McKinney. Like, this is, if he plays anything like he has up to this point in his career, he being Xavier McKinney, you're going to look up this year and go, oh, that's why Clayton's been saying that post safety is a tier 2 position of importance. Like, it makes all the difference in the world when you can really make that quarterback second guess that third line of defense and attacking the field, especially vertically on those seam routes from your number 2s or number 3s. If you do go speed of 3, like you've got a post safety who's got good size, good athleticism, and just one of the smartest safeties in the game of football, man. I think he's going to make all the difference in the world. Chris N asks, can Romeo separate enough to be wide receiver 1 Clayton? When you say separate, I'm sure most people think speed, right? They think, okay, does he got the athleticism to really break away from DBs? This offense just doesn't really operate like that. It's not a shot play offense like McCarthy's and traditional West Coast offense plays. Bill Walsh, the way that he set his West Coast offense up, there was a shot route on almost every play called, meaning you've got a deep opportunity to throw a bomb here, right? But the majority of the time, that was the number one read, and now let's work through the progressions and take what the defense is giving you. The thing that makes Romeo valuable, in my opinion, his number one trait are his hands. He's got extremely strong hands. He can make contested catches, snatch the ball away from the defender. He's got, I wouldn't say he's like elite route running by no stretch of the imagination. I would say he's a very good route runner, not great, but very good. And he's got strong hands. To me, those are his superpowers, right? That's kind of how I see Romeo. Now, when you say to be wide receiver one, I don't really subscribe to the whole wide receiver one talk. When people, and I'm not saying you're doing this, Chris, but most fans, when they say wide receiver one, that with this team, that's their wide receiver one. That might be their best wide receiver, but a true number one receiver, to me, a true number one receiver tilts the field in your team's favor. It literally forces defense to come out and go, all right, where's he at on this play? And they build their game plan around that. I don't think Doubs is that yet. I don't think Watson is that. I don't think Reed is that. I don't think Wicks is that. I do not think we have a true number one receiver where it's like, okay, the defense has to build their game plan around him. There are many people that are convinced that Christian Watson has shown that he's that guy and that defenses actually play him like that. I haven't seen that on tape. It doesn't mean that, I catch every little thing that's on tape, but I do see them respecting his speed a little more than they did early on, especially after his coming out party there against Dallas a few years ago where they tried to play, press on him, and he just absolutely cooked that corner. Next thing you know, he was swimming in the dirt. But I see defenses playing a little softer, but you don't see bracket coverage, at least not often. So hopefully that answers your question about Romeo. I think Romeo is exactly what they're expecting him to be. And that's just a solid boundary X receiver. The problem is the majority of the offense in Matt LaFleur's offense kind of runs not just in isolation, let's throw to the boundary X. Typically, it's a lot of jet motion, a lot of shovel passes, all that type of stuff. So a lot more motion in that regard. Hopefully that answered your question, Bob. What about you guys? Do you think Romeo can separate enough to be wide receiver one? How do you guys see that? Am I way off base here?
I know. I think more how you explained it is better. It's like anybody can label, say, hey, he's the X on this play. But like you talked about, is he a Randy Moss in his prime? Is he somebody like a Tyreek Hill? Is he somebody that actually, like you talked about, the defense literally has to scheme basically from him first and then work their way out? You know what I mean? I don't think that we have anybody on that, which is also, I think, there's positives and negatives. And I think that we all know that how great our wide receiver group is. The fact that on any given play, it just depends on who Matt LaFleur decides to scheme up on that exact play. Like there's really no rhyme or reason, like just because, like I'm trying to think of like Andre Johnson in his prime or, like Calvin Johnson in his prime. Right? Megatron, like guys were wherever they went, DeAndre Hopkins, when he was that guy, it's like wherever they went, you had to start with that guy first and then work their way out. Whereas with Green Bay, you've got, if those guys are A+ players, I think Green Bay has like 5 B+ players that all go to a different spot and they're like, oh crap. Like how are we supposed to we don't even really know where to hone in, where to start the coverage and work our way out. So I think that's a benefit, but at the same time, I would argue that if any of those receivers were to eventually evolve into one of those types of like shutdown, you have to scheme your defense around him, I would argue it probably would be Watson or Dontavian Wicks eventually. But
yeah, I agree. What do you think?
I think Rome's definitely had, definitely gotten better. His release has gotten a lot better. But you said he's got strong hands because he's in and out of practice before and after hitting the jugs. He does all that work. He's working in the offseason with Jordan. And I think that I think he was too old for this right there. Yeah. He said he's humble so he won't get the attention most top receivers get. But on top of that, he's not going to make a name, or he's going to make a name for himself, but by putting it on the field, right? He's not going to be in the media just because. He's going to be in the media because he had a 150-yard game and 2 touchdowns, or he's going to be in the media because he broke 1,500 yards. So like that's why, Rome is going to could be talked about as that number one. I think he's got all the attitude and the drive to be that number one receiver. He would be the one, first in, last out. So I think it's possible. Right at this second, I don't think we would label him the number one, but I like how Jacob explained it. We got a bunch of B pluses, and that's a grade that'll get me through college football, baby.
There you go. That's all that matters, right? Let's see here. Jarrell Lee in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. He said Romeo is our wide receiver 1 right now. Wicks could be eventually. Took Devontae Adams years to be 1. Yet I'm really intrigued by Dontavian Wicks, man. Anytime someone with that kind of talent and you've seen it just pop off every time he's on the field, especially in third down situations out of the slot, you immediately go to how did he fall that far in the draft, right? Mm-hmm. And that worries me a bit because it's like, is there something there that drove him down the boards? I don't know, because he just seems that darn good. Hopefully that's not the case, and I'm not trying to create a rumor here. You guys know I am the biggest Dontavian Wicks stan there is.
Well, you remember what it was, don't you?
Well, the basketball thing, right?
Yeah, he made it known that he wanted to be a basketball player first. So that kind of ended up self-sabotaging himself to the point where then once he finally came around, he's like, oh, never mind. Once the basketball thing, he kind of realized it wasn't going to work out. He kind of went back and started saying like, oh, no, I'm all about football. And people were like, whatever, you know.
Yeah, I could see how that would make a front office a little nervous. Like, is he going to, you know what I mean? Is he just going to bounce and go try to pursue a career in basketball? Let's see. M. Smitty said he was also a part of the staff at Bama when X was there talking about Derek Ansley. So true. He actually helped recruit Xavier McKinney. Really cool story behind that. Jake Shavink said, I get what Jacob is saying about safety, but it was a massive need. Also, no guarantees in the draft in terms of all 3 panning out. If everyone does hit, safety's set for 8 years. Ended up really, really, really cheap cap hit for the next 4 years at a minimum. So absolutely huge there for sure. Let's see. Venom Slash in the chat said, OMG, we're going to get white helmets. It's going to look so clean. I'm excited about this. You guys know I'm a traditionalist, but those triple white jerseys, if that is true, and I'm assuming it is, everybody seems to be talking about it. If they go white pants, white jersey, white helmet, oh boy.
Well, the picture that they posted is like you see the white jersey, white pants. You got to like zoom way in, and you see just like the ear, like the bottom of the ear of the helmet. That it is white. So
nice. We'll see, man. Is that the one for the Philly game? Am I thinking right or no?
I think, and it's white, and it's white face mask too from the picture.
Oh my God!
So it's white helmet, white face mask, and then I'm sure that G is just going to absolutely pop.
Yep, absolutely, man. It's exciting stuff. Let's see. So Turtle says Doubs dropped nearly 200 on the Cowboy. He's wide receiver. He said, I ain't hearing it. He dropped 200 hundo on the Cowboys.
And that's it. That's why it's hard to say. Like, yeah, he's done everything right to be wide receiver number 1. But
in the biggest games too.
Right. Do we need to put the title on him? I don't, you know.
Yeah. And same like during the regular season too. How many times did we see Love needed a play and he went to Doubs, right?
Yeah.
And Doubs, like the back shoulder throw against the Saints, right? That big come from behind win. Probably my favorite game outside of the Cowboys playoff win. My favorite game of the season was the Saints game. That was even though it was in the down part of the season and Love still continued to make mistakes through the first half of the season. That game was like, oh, we might have something here. That felt.
We can make it. Right. We can make a 17-point comeback in the fourth quarter. All right, we got something here.
Yep, absolutely, man.
But I'm telling you, if Romes has a year this year, they're gonna start working it. Right, we already have to have that plan in place. If he has half of a year, if he breaks 1,000 and we're cooking, he's got to get paid. I think.
All right, we got to go rapid fire here. If you guys would hit that like button for us real quick, feel free to sub to the channel. We really appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We're going to be doing content on a daily basis throughout the entire training camp, preseason, regular season, postseason. There will be a postseason. I'm calling it. We do post-game shows, pre-game shows. We do film breakdown, everything on this channel. We appreciate y'all swinging through. Like I said, just hit that like button for us. Feel free to sub if you like this kind of content. So, one last thing before we dive into everything, Matt LaFleur actually talked about Devontae White a little bit earlier. I wanted to play this soundbite because it sounds like he's pretty excited about Devontae White this year. He was specifically asked about him at the presser before practice today.
He wants to take a quote-unquote monster leap this year. Is that something you think you've seen good signs that it's something that he can do?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think he's done a great job. I think it shows just I think he's come in probably the best shape he's ever been in. his effort running, in between the plays, in between the whistle has been as good as anybody. So I do expect him to take a leap this year. I think what we're doing with him is beneficial to his skill set, and I'm excited for him.
So a couple of things I heard there. Remember we said it looked like he came in a little slimmer? Mm-hmm. Sounds like Matt's talking about that right there. And then also when he said what we're doing differently fits him a little better, talking about that one gap, right? You're going to be one gap, and there'll probably be, other than goal line situations, zero two-gap defenses. If they go to a true 4-3 and they don't revert back at all to any kind of 34 front in specific situations, I'm not taking that completely off the table. But what it essentially means is you're probably going to be in nickel 75 to 80% of the time. That was one gap last year anyway. So that means you were in base probably 25% of the time. That means those extra 25% of the snaps on defense are now going to be one gap as opposed to two. That's why we were talking about with Kenny Clark. I kind of expect him to jump up. We had our predictions. I said 9.5 sacks, 45 pressures, 77 PFF grade. Jacob said 10-plus sacks, 40 pressures, 75 PFF grade. Tim said 10.5 sacks, 45 pressures, 80 PFF grade. And Emilio said 8.5 sacks, 55 pressures, 78 PFF grade. So Emilio obviously saying we're going to get way more pressures, but maybe just one or two more sacks than we had last year. So I think it's going to be huge for everybody across the board, whether it be Kenny, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks, all of them, right, to fit this one gap.
It's exciting, man. I can't wait, man. The problem is everybody on the defense I want to see, everybody on the offense I want to see. We just need a game. So family night will be a nice little teaser.
It will, yeah. And the plan as of right now, we will be live for family night. Obviously, we can't broadcast it, but we'll be giving you guys real-time updates on what's going on at family night and just talking Packers during it. So if you're at a distance and you can't get it on TV, to the best of my knowledge, NFL Network's not broadcasting it. They haven't done that in forever. But who knows? Maybe the Packers surprise us and everybody gets it. So if you don't have access to it and you're like, man, I'd like to keep up with it, and you just want to hop in here, crack open a daddy soda and just talk ball with us, we'll be live for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. So and just to flash that up real quick, again, that is Saturday the 3rd. That's going to be coming up this Saturday is going to be family night. Obviously, tomorrow night we got our very first preseason game. The Bears, and who are the Bears playing for the Hall of Fame? Texans. Bears, Texans. Now, don't expect a lot of starters to play, but still it's football, man. We've been started for it. So one other thing LaFleur said, this is kind of what he was talking about with Devontae Wyatt. Paul Brittle tweeted out his effort running between the whistles has been as good as anybody, said LaFleur about Devontae Wyatt. And then he went on to tweet, Paul Brittle said, quote, you talk about a pro, he does everything the right way, LaFleur said about Eric Wilson. He continues to get better and better as a linebacker. Eric Wilson is probably one of, if not the most popular players on this podcast. Am I right, guys? Like, I love that dude. It's pretty cool to hear Matt LaFleur talk about he's getting better as a linebacker. I wouldn't be surprised if he cracks into the lineup occasionally. And to me, he looked solid last year when he did play the limited amount of snaps he did on defense. So, all right. Training camp practice injury report going in. This is Pete Doherty. Hope I'm saying that right. New outs today was Carrington Valentine has a hamstring, and offensive lineman Donovan Jennings had a knee injury. So they are out, added new to the list there. Still out was defensive line Deslin Alexander, defensive line Keyshawn Banks, and, of course, tight end Tucker Kraft. So nothing crazy horrible there. It does kind of anytime you hear hamstring in training camp, it really does perk my ears up a little bit like, oh, crap, here we go. But hopefully Carrington Valentine can fight through that. Keep in mind, if I remember correctly, Carrington Valentine put a little weight on. That was by design. And when you start adding weight to a frame, guess what takes the most strain, Emilio? It's those hammies, dude.
I mean, 17 pounds is not it's not like he just went and ate Culver's for 3 weeks straight. Like, the dude put on probably 15 pounds of muscle, maybe like a half a pound of fat. And then it's impressive, but you said you're putting extra weight on. He's getting used to the new thing. I'm just happy that besides this, we've been good, knock on wood, the new strength and conditioning since the pecs have been pretty decent. So I'm happy with that, right? At some point you're going to have, a little mistake here and there, but I just don't want to have, relapses is all.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so there is your injury report going into practice. Let's go to the one-on-ones. These are always fun to keep up with. Paul Brettel tweeted out some one-on-one matchups. Doubs versus Alexander. Doubs made the catch. It sounds like, and you guys correct me if you disagree, it sounds like Romeo Doubs, when matched up on Jair Alexander this camp, has dominated Alexander. And it's cool because you're getting – if you're putting Doubs on Alexander the majority of the time in these one-on-one matchups, you're kind of looking at that as number one versus number one, right? Your top wide receiver versus your top corner. So the fact that Doubs has been mossing him a little bit and taking control, that's really, really important to me. Now, Xavier McKinney versus Luke Musgrave, the ball fell incomplete, so McKinney won that rep over Musgrave. Toure versus King. So this is Kalen King, the rookie, taking on Samori Toure, obviously fighting for one of those final wide receiver spots on the roster. Incomplete there. Kalen King won that rep. So everything you're hearing about Kalen King out of camp too, boys, look pretty solid. Jaden Reed versus Keyshawn Nixon. Jaden Reed made the catch. Let's see, Christian Watson versus Eric Stokes. Watson made the catch. And then Rochelle versus Wicks. Wicks won that one. So it looks like the wide receivers, for the most part, dominated. McKinney got the better of the best of Musgrave, I should say. And, other than Kalen King, of course, beating Toure. Kalen King might be the real deal, boys. I think he's going to give Keyshawn Nixon a little bit of stress in camp with that slot position, man. That's one guy I'm excited about watching in preseason for sure.
Yeah, the only problem is how are we going to get him on the team? That's what I'm more worried about.
Kalen King's making this roster, bro.
Yeah, but
there's no doubt in my mind. Yeah.
Keyshawn was talking about him today. He's like, I think he called him Lil KK. But,
Lil KK.
Lil KK. But he's like, he just needs to build his confidence, right? He's young. But he was telling him, you get through that chip on your shoulder. I guess I didn't realize Keyshawn's always been on an active roster, never on a practice squad, all that. So he said, you're already on the roster now. Just keep grinding, keep working, and put your head down, and it'll come to you. And Keyshawn was also talking about he's got 10 goals each year. He hit all 10 last year. He's got 10 new this year that he's ready to go for. So that's kind of how you got to approach it, right? You're waking up every day to get better by yourself, to help the team get better as a whole. So I like it. And Kalen King in preseason, let's go.
Yeah, definitely. So Jacob, do you think there's a legit shot Kalen King to make the roster, or do you kind of feel like I don't know, he's pretty much a shoe-in?
No, I hope he does, and I want him to. I'm just saying that means that another position group is going to have to make a really hard decision. Plus, I don't think that means I don't think Ballantine makes the team. If Kalen King does,
that's probably right, man. KK, I love it. KK, we're saying it all year.
Did you hear what Matt was saying about the roster though?
What he said?
He said that the nowadays normally, he said it. I look at it as a 69 but 70 with Kenneth Odumegwu. He said I look at it as a 70-man roster. That I was like, hey, that might make it a little easier if we go with the 70 number. Right. Let's start making our roster 70, but because obviously not everyone dresses on the 53 anyway for games. So it's kind of all going to be that rotation. They're going to have to mess with those 3 ups and downs. But it's cool to look at it like that. So I'm fine if we want to do a 70-man moving forward and just keep Kenneth on all the time. So 69, I'll cool with that.
58.
Paul Brittle tweeted out, free play for the offense. Clifford goes deep to DuBose, who goes up and catches it between 2 defenders. Good throw, very good catch. So DuBose flashing earlier today, man. We talked about that. That wide receiver room is going to be tough. I feel like DuBose is on the outside looking in, but damn if he ain't putting together a heck of a camp, man. It's unbelievable. Wes Hodkowitz put out a series of tweets here. Some of this may be read twice, but I definitely want to put the final drive together in order if at all possible. But here's what Wes Hodkowitz said. We got to start at the bottom and work our way up. That's how it went in chronological order. It says Wicks runs a nice slant versus Alexander and catches the ball for 10. I think he meant for 10 or maybe from 10. Wes Hodkowitz says Grant DuBose catching everything this camp. Defense jumps and Clifford throws a deep tight ball to connect for 42 yards was how long that was. 86, high pointed it versus Williams and Anderson deep. Wes Hodkowitz went on to tweet, Josh Jacobs pops a nice run through B gap following Morgan and Tyler Davis seal. So obviously Jordan Morgan, man, nothing but positive things all camp. Then Wes Hockowitz says, Marshawn Lloyd getting a first-team snap. Love throws a quick slant to Wicks on the play. So you're seeing Marshawn Lloyd get some looks in there with the first team in that regard. Also, the pass rush today, Wes Hockowitz said Rashawn Gary with a dominant rep against Telford, who came back with good reps versus Cox Jr. Jacob, don't want to hear that, do we, Bub? Jordan Morgan was competitive against Wyatt. Ryan had good rep versus Bull Rush from Brooks. So Sean Ryan showing up a little bit there, and it says Enikbare had a nice speed rush versus Tenuta and celebrated with the defensive line. So Jordan Morgan, again, man, looking pretty solid. And it looked like Telford's out there fighting for his roster spot too, man. I'm eager to see who's going to be that backup tackle. Kingsley Enikbare update here. Wes Hockowitz says Kingsley Enikbare had a flashy win in one-on-ones, but also a few nice pressures too in team, and he bats a pass at the line of scrimmage to end the drill. So Kingsley Enikbare and the whole pass rush showing up big time. Anything you guys want to add to that? Any of those updates we just covered? Spark any thoughts for you?
I think all that Kadeem Telford, I think he was holding Cox. That's what I think. But besides that,
absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyway,
you're an amazing person. You know that, don't you?
Unbelievable. Go ahead, Emilio. Add some maturity to this program.
No, Enikbare, man. I think we could have a little breakout there. We've talked about it before. The hockey lines. I think we need to have them rotating. Even it was 3 guys with 3 things. Larry was talking about Rasheed Walker going up against Preston Smith and just stonewall them, right? Good base, good hands, good feet, everything. And that's awesome to see. We got a 7th rounder holding on the left tackle, and he's not looking back. So if everyone is going to push each other, that's awesome. If we're going to make everybody better because we got Rashawn, Preston, LVN, and Kingsley just as a rotation, send it, right?
Definitely. So here was the final drive of practice, and then we'll try to get a Paul Brittle kind of his take on it too. I like to look at things 2 and 3 times from different reporters because people see it a little bit different. I think it's important. But here we go, starting at the bottom, working our way up. Started at the bottom, now we're here, Jacob. Ain't that one of your heroes saying? Is that right?
All the way, totally.
Now the whole team has arrived. Is that what it says? Is that right?
Sure.
Anyway, Wes, that was the Caucasian version of that song. We began towards the lower half. Now the whole team has arrived. Wes Hockowitz says Dubose came back from a drop in previous period to catch a solid out for 17. Beautiful corner route by Torre for 25 to 30 yards. Clifford finds him. Finally in pads, you can really see how smooth Josh Jacobs runs. So you're seeing that smoothness with the V from Josh Jacobs. Wes Hockowitz says Doubs finds the sticks, sits, and gains 9 on 3rd and 8. Good stuff there. Wes Hockowitz went on to tweet, Love tries a ball across the middle in, what is MTB? Help me out here, guys.
Mid-team, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'll have to think on that one.
Love, Smitty, help me out. Love tries a ball across the middle in Emden, and McKinney hops in front on a pass intended for Bo Melton for the interception. So there is Xavier McKinney with another interception to camp on Bo Melton there. Wes Hockowitz says Watson and Love connect on a deep ball in 2 spot. Watson gets a step on Nixon, and Love lofted it right over. So continuing here, Wes Hockowitz says Carl Brooks opens up number 2 minute with a sack. Then it says Kobe Wooden zone drops and breaks up a pass across the middle on 3-13. Some of these are hard to read, man. Did it happen on March 13th? Is that what happened there? Or what are we talking
3rd
about?
and 13.
I will say this. That's probably going to upset people. Kobe Wooden dropping into coverage. Just saying, boys, it's going to continue to happen, okay? It wasn't just surprise. It wasn't just Joe Barry that likes to run fire zone blitzes. I know everybody shot it.
I saw it in the Jets game.
Yeah, we tried to warn them, didn't we? So let's see. Love clears the pocket and allows Reed to come open for 21 on a 3rd and 2. Man, they're just continuing to do that. That's that 3rd window we talk about, right, Emilio? Right, Jacob? When Love buying time and hitting that 3rd window. Absolutely huge. Here we are again. Next play, Love scrambles for 22 on a 3rd and 10 and then connects for 22 on 3rd and 10 and then connects with Wicks for 11-yard touchdown in the back of the end zone. Am I the only one struggling to read this? Am I missing something?
No, it's like a if the news got sent to you by a 13-year-old girl just texting you updates.
I don't text.
What the hell does that mean?
That's kind of how my texts come across. I don't text with periods. Just put all the information out there.
Yeah, you know what? Emilio does send some stuff in the group chat where I'm like, I don't know what he just said.
These kids.
I'm just gonna watch the video and text back slay.
All right. So anyway, Love scrambles for 22 on 3rd and 10 and then connects with Wicks for 11-yard touchdown in back of the end zone. None of that adds up, to be honest with you. But hey, it was an 11-yard touchdown. That's all you need to know. Wicks. It was Love to Wicks, right? And then it says Wicks and Love connect in basically the same spot for the 2-point conversion. That's the end of practice after 2:08. So 2 hours and 8 minutes, I'm assuming, is what that was. So obviously he hit Wicks for the go-ahead touchdown or for the tying touchdown and then hit Wicks for the win. There was 2-point conversion.
And that was after Wicks dropped the ball earlier, right? Was all upset about it in his interview. He was all upset that he dropped the ball and came back to it and made up for it in team drill.
Yeah, 2-0 for this says Wes uses Twitter like Michael Scott uses PowerPoint. No hate on Wes. He's the best. I love Wes Heikwitz. Yes. He has become my favorite outside of Paul Brettel, my favorite insider, whatever you want to call it, Packers beat reporter to follow. He is the nicest guy. He never talks down to anyone. If you guys haven't watched his most recent video where he was talking about the Jordan Love contract and him experiencing the whole process of them drafting Jordan, bro, he gets emotional. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that about Wes Heikwitz. You could tell he's a true fan, unlike other people that just want to gloat about not being fans.
Yeah. He cares that there's a person behind the jersey and the numbers and the contract and everything.
The family, everything. He just did a phenomenal job. So, again, keep in mind, too, Wes Heikwitz, no hate, because he's on the sideline trying to get this out as quick as possible, too. It's untellable what mine would look like. I would have possums and raccoons and everything, little emojis. It would look like hieroglyphs if I tweeted it out. But all right, so here was Paul Brittle's version of that 2-minute drill. Okay, so 2-minute drill, 140 left at their own 35, down 28-21, no timeouts. Love goes 5 for 6. Big plays came on a 17-yard pass to Reed, we just talked about. Love escapes the pocket and directed traffic, finds Wicks in the end zone between the safeties on 1st and goal. No kicking today, so go for 2. Really impressive throw by Love with pressure in his face and throws dart to Wicks. That was the 2-point conversion. So.
After reading that, it seems like that when he found Wicks, then right after, hurry up, get to the line, then we find him in the back of the end zone. Love that, stay on top of it. And everyone knew where they were heading, knew the routes, all that.
Yeah, so, I mean, that really what I'm taking away there, and I know it's the last thing we talked about, but Love to Wicks, man, that's starting to heat up a little bit, isn't it, fellas?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a lethal weapon. Also a great movie series.
It is a great movie series, you're right. Yeah. I tell you, and, as we went back through and looked at the receivers from last year and everything, Wicks was his go-to guy on 3rd down, right? Like he had the highest passer rating when targeted on 3rd down. He had the highest passer rating when targeted out of the slot. Doubs was a go-to guy as well, obviously, right?
I was just going to say, yeah.
So those are the two. Now you got Jaden Reed, who led the league in receiving yards and receptions. Like, how the hell is that possible that you know what I mean? It's just wild that everybody's got their own role. That's what happens when you're not trying to force feed one wide receiver. And on top of that, have that one wide receiver have a cap hit of $25 to $30 million, right? It's huge. So, all right. In the upper right here, guys, if you want to join our Patreon community, just scan that QR code that'll send you over to our Patreon community where you can join. We've got 3 tiers. If you're a member of one of those 3 tiers, we put you in the giveaways. We give away autographed memorabilia. We give away, like we're going to be giving away a Take Your Eye Off the Ball 2.0 book by Pat Kerwin, just an awesome football book. If you're looking to learn the X's and O's and maybe understand the game at a little bit different level, we're going to be giving that one away. And we're going to be giving away all kinds of stuff all year. But again, it's just a way for you to support the show and us to give back. And it's a cool little community where you guys can chat in there amongst yourselves and give us ideas for the show and all that good stuff. So again, just scan that QR code in the upper right, and that'll send you there. Also, I want to say this. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, man, I don't always get to check out the show because, you're busy or what have you. You can scan this QR code that I'll send you to Packernet Podcast. That's where you can find this show and other podcasts by Ryan Schlip and other people like Jake Shavink that are members of the Packernet Podcast family. And again, you can go ahead and sub to that channel. That's where you'll always find every time we end a show, 20 minutes later, it's live on Packernet Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts at, whether it's Podcast Republic, Apple iTunes, Spotify, wherever we're on everything. So we were going to upload the video version to Spotify. I did it one night, and it took me an hour and 45 minutes to get it uploaded. I'm like, I'm never doing it again. I'm sorry. Yeah. I love the listeners, but I'm sorry. My wife is going to.
Yeah, till we get Clayton the better internet connection, man. Fiber hasn't come over there yet, right?
How dare you? I got to hit you with it, right? I'm sorry. I got to do it to you, Emilio. It's just a way.
How dare you?
Unbelievable. Jake, if you got anything else before we sign off here, big dog, what just your main takeaway from camp practice today, dude?
Oh, main takeaway is that I finally think that the offense is starting to catch up with the progression of how the defense has been firing on all cylinders. I think tomorrow is going to be a really important practice where both sides need to hone it in a little bit because we got a breakdown on Friday. And then before you know it, Saturday night, we are back with family night. So tomorrow I think is a very important practice. I wouldn't be surprised if LaFleur maybe did extend it a little bit longer again, like he did today. And, yeah, man, Saturday night's the first night we really start to see with the cream who's rising to the top. Oh, yeah. And I think that cream rise to the top. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it'll be fun, man.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. Emilio, anything else, bub?
Nothing. The only other thing was DJ and Buck on their Move the Sticks was New Places, New Faces, and they picked Josh Jacobs for the Packers. So I thought that was kind of cool. We forget that, we still brought in the number one running back, someone that can handle it and be a bell cow. I think Michael Lombardi was also talking about him too, that he's not as much of a, scat back as Aaron Jones, and that, Matt's probably going to absolutely run him. So excited for the offense and defense, man.
Good stuff. Let's go to the chat here, end it here. Chris Ian says, not keeping Valentine is a mistake. I'd rather cut Stokes. Boy, that's a hot take, Chris. Listen, if it was just strictly based off of what has happened on the field the last 2 seasons, forget the injuries, when he's actually on the field the last 2 seasons, people don't want to hear this, Chris, but Valentine has outperformed Stokes on the field. There's no two ways about it. Now, Valentine doesn't have his speed. He doesn't have his agility. None of that matters if you can't track the ball.
And he's almost 30.
Yeah, he's almost 32. It's a good point. Yeah, you're right, Jacob. The hell with that. Valentine.
That's a good point.
No, it is a good point. It is, but you can't deny that Valentine has outperformed him.
No, it's true. That's true.
It's tough, man. Jarrell Lee says, Kalen King reminds me of Casey Hayward. Oh, that's a good comp. That is a really good comp, man. Because Casey Hayward, man, if I remember correctly, he was he wasn't a huge guy, but there was definitely something about Casey Hayward that made you think he's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Thick.
Right. He just kind of looked like he was kind of boxy, right? I'm kind of boxy myself. Much greater fat percentage or body fat percentage, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, I think that's a good comp though, Jarrell Lee. Not saying that Kalen King is going to play like Casey. I hope he does, right? And I'm sure you do too, but I could see that comp for sure. 2-0 for this says 2 things I learned most in person was that LVN and Caleb Jones are both pretty big dudes. I bet they are. CJN said, hey guys, if you could do us all a favor and hit that like button, it boosts the algorithm and reach out to more Packer fans. That'd be great. Look at CJN in here. I know my burner account now, don't you? Yeah. Deadfish says Packers game on NFL Network Sunday, August 11th at 7 a.m. Bro, get up at 7 a.m. with the Emilio said I ain't watching it.
Are they dropping the Browns game then?
I guess it'll be let's see here. It'll be the very first one. So yeah,
the Browns, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So Sunday, I'll be up for that, dude.
7 a.m. I'm gonna hit record on that, but when I get up Sunday morning, I'll definitely watch that.
Unbelievable, man. I just snorted. Unbelievable. just, I don't know, you sleeping in, it made me think of the Dave Chappelle skit where it was it Paul Mooney? Is that his name? Yeah. Paul Mooney. Yeah. But I just want to insert Mexican. It's like good morning, Mexican America. It'll air at noon. That's really That's good. First thing I thought of. But yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for the information there, Deadfish. That's going to be great, man. Looking forward to that on Sunday morning. Get up, watch that, grab a cup of coffee, and then go live for a morning show possibly. So, I got to go to Knoxville on Sunday. We'll see. Probably won't be a morning show Sunday, but
it's not. It's next Sunday. It's not even this Sunday.
Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah, we're good. Yeah, we'll be doing a morning show right after watching that. That'll be awesome. So, all right, last one. Greg Rice says Clayton's still on his free AOL dial-up. You remember the little metal trays they'd send it in, the little disc and everything?
Oh, my Lord.
Emilio, don't shake your head like you know.
You've got mail.
You've got
Okay, maybe you do know. All right. Anything else, Willis?
No.
All right. Cool. Yeah, we've wasted enough of these people's time. We really appreciate y'all, though. Thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central for more PTA Live. And again, that last camp practice tomorrow before the break there, before family night. So we'll be bringing you all the camp updates for tomorrow. So for those of you listening on the pod, what's that?
Football tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Football.
Got it, man. Got it. All right. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making this a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack, go.